How's it going, everybody? This is the Nitty Gritty. My name is Chad. With me, as usual, is Leonard. This is a show about wrestling, and we're going to start today by talking about one of the hot button topics that is still being discussed right now, which is Saturday's main event from December 13th. And it was obviously subtitled John Cena's final match. They've been building to this for a very long time. Uh, it's been a retirement tour, so to speak, and we've heard about other wrestlers down the road possibly getting retirement tours as well. Apparently, that's one of the things that they might have offered Chris Jericho. Should he return at some point? Who knows? But anyway, let's just talk about Saturday night's main event. We're going to breeze through most of this card because we really want to talk about John Cena's final match.
Yeah, I did not watch the entire show. Chad just said, hey, watch John Cena's last match. So I fast forwarded to the last commercial break. So I watched all the stuff right before and right after the match itself. I did not watch the preliminary stuff.
Right. And you didn't just really see anything else. Like the whole show was basically a tribute to John Cena. And, in that way, that's very cool that they pretty much gave him an entire event and tribute videos and highlights and people, celebrities and other past wrestlers and present wrestlers talking about, giving him compliments and good lucks and all that kind of stuff. All that was very nice.
We did watch Jenny was with me and watched some of it and she really liked that final video package. She thought that was just very sweet and very nice and how it highlighted his work with kids and just kind of put over that, yeah, he's a generally good guy and a nice guy.
Absolutely. And, the thing about WWE is that they always do video packages better than anybody else. Like, that's one thing that they are top notch at. So this was held from Washington, D.C., and it had 4 matches. The first match was a non-title match. Cody Rhodes, who is the WWE Undisputed Champion, I think they still call it, against Obafemi, who is the NXT champion now. And this match was 9 minutes and 3 seconds. And, if I'm being honest, this is the type of match that I expected from WWE for an event like this, and not in a good way. Was the match okay? I don't know. Very mediocre, I thought. But it certainly wasn't saved by the fact that there was a run-in at the end. And WWE does that, in my opinion, way too much. Drew McIntyre did the run-in. The match was a schmoz, and then all of a sudden, Obafemi and Cody Rhodes love each other, and they clank belts and all that kind of stuff. Really nothing to see there. The next match was Sol Ruca with Zarya against Bayley, who is with Lyra Valkyria. And
you're just saying a lot of random sounds.
It's what it sounds like, right? And Sol Ruca would win this match. If I'm being honest, I wasn't really in the room for this match, but I did see the end. It's 9 minutes 24 seconds, and they have really. I don't know if I want to say lost faith in Bayley. She certainly had her runs in the company, but for her to lose,
well, she's to the point in her career where her job, I think, is to put over the upcoming talent.
Yeah, I think that. Also, on top of that, I think that WWE is going through, in the female side, a youth movement right now, where they're really trying to highlight some of the younger upcoming talent. And other than Stephanie Vaquer, who didn't come up through WWE developmental, most of them I'm not super impressed by. But, I don't know. Bayley has been around for a while. I have heard rumblings that she's not super happy being there. And how true that is, I don't know. But they had her lose in a pretty prominent spot here. The next match is a non-title tag team match. AJ Styles and Dragon Lee against Javon Evans and Leon Slater. 6 minutes, 26 seconds. The match was fine. When you have AJ Styles in there, you can pretty much rely on something halfway decent. So,
is the tag team name for AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, are they known as AJ Lee?
They should be. They should be. That's amazing. I like that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, they are the champions. And Javon Evans and Leon Slider are very much, at least what I've seen on the internet, they're very much being touted as like, oh well, this company has high flying guys. WWE has high flying guys too. It's like that's the quota that those two guys are filling. It seems anyway. They're both. They seem like both very solid talents. So I'll just put it that way. I'm not trying to insult them. Um, and then, of course, the last match, which they had a whole tournament. The last time is now tournament. It came down to Gunther and LA Knight. And I could have told you from the get go that Gunther was going to win this tournament. And because honestly, who else do you put in this spot? And when in my head, when I knew when Gunther was going to be in this match, I said, I know they're not going to have John Cena beat Gunther. But that's not the issue totally. So, Leonard, you were going to say something.
Well, no, I was going to say if you don't if it's not going to be a rival, if it's not going to be CM Punk or Randy Orton, then the idea is we want a fresh matchup. You want somebody new, and
Right.
and you want and again you want to talk about this because you saw some comments, some controversy, and people didn't like some things. Were people upset that he lost?
So, yes, let's get to that. So the match is 23 minutes and 43 seconds, and quality-wise, it's time for John Cena to be done.
Yes, I mean you and we talked about the last match that we talked about with him was Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania and how that was a slog. Do a move, suck wind, do a move, suck wind. And that's what this was for a large part of it.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. Like, I watched this because it's been publicized for so long. I was never a huge John Cena fan. I think that the matches that he has had in his career that are good were because the other person was good. I have never been a big fan of his style in the ring. The Thugonomics John Cena, I dug that character. I dug that he was kind of a brawler at that point. But the straight laced John Cena, the champ is here John Cena,
Fake Marine John Cena.
Yeah, I was never
doing it for the children John Cena.
Exactly. Great guy. He obviously is a cool guy, but I was never a big fan of his work in the ring. So, but I wanted to check this match out anyway. The match was not great. But at the end of the match, you had Gunther putting him in a rear naked choke. The referee lifts the arms up, and he last one before it goes to 3. John Cena.
In my day, we called that a sleeper hold.
Why? So I watch a lot of AEW. They call it a rear naked choke. So yes, it is a sleeper hold. So yeah, and then he got out of it for a brief moment. Gunther gives him a bunch of elbows, and then he gets John Cena back in the sleeper hold, and John Cena taps out. Now, I'll say my reaction. We'll talk about the crowd reaction. My reaction was one of confusion, not because he tapped out necessarily, but because it looked like John Cena had a look on his face of, I'm tired of doing this. I don't really give a crap. Let's just end the match. Like, if he was trying to act like I'm incapacitated so much that I have to tap out, I wasn't buying it.
No. Jenny watched this with me, and I explained to her the whole arm thing, and what that means. And then he makes the comeback, and then when he taps out, what upset me, and as I explained, was you don't tap out to a sleeper hold; you pass out to a sleeper hold,
right?
And I'm okay with him making a comeback, and then him getting caught in it again, and then passing out, and that helps both of them because John Cena didn't tap out. He passed out. Gunther was too much for him. And then Gunther looks better. What he did by tapping out doesn't help anybody, either him going out the door or Gunther being put over. And like you said, he had this look on his face like, yeah, let's just be done with it.
Yeah, like to me that was a real like that alone. The way it was handled, I think, was bad. But also, like you have a guy who every time he comes to the ring holds up a towel that says "Never give up," and in his last match, he gave up.
Yes.
And
Now I get how that could work as far as John Cena never gives up, but he gave up to Gunther. It's kind of like how when Undertaker lost the yard to Roman Reigns.
I hated that.
Yeah, like he didn't have the streak, but he still had the yard.
Yeah.
So it was like that idea, I think maybe, but again, it was not accomplished well.
Yeah,
Like
and
I like the idea of Cena losing by submission. I like the idea of a sleeper hold, but the way they accomplished it was wrong.
I to me they should have had him go out like Stone Cold, like just have him pass out. You know, like he lost, he was overcome by Gunther, but you know, to the end he was, you know, he never actually gave up. Like I think then you have both people win. Gunther has finished John Cena. John Cena goes, you know, with his head held high. Instead, what we saw was what we saw, and the crowd reacted to it in a very immediate way. And I think to answer your earlier question, I think it was a combination of wanting him to have won and a combination of the way he lost.
Yes.
I
Yes.
truly believe that. And now, obviously, and here's where Leonard and I might verge away from each other. Like historically, in wrestling, when you are having your last match, you go out by putting somebody else over. You do
Yes.
the job for somebody else to put over the either younger, newer talent, whatever, you know. And most of the time that works and it makes sense. However, I am also a proponent of things in wrestling don't necessarily need to stay the same all the time. And on top of that, I think this situation was a little bit different because of how much and how long they publicized this event. Like thinking back to some of the other matches people had that were their last, we didn't always know that these matches would be the last match of said person. Or if it was announced that way, it might have been announced like the month before. This one has been talked about for like a good year. And, you know, could they have had him win? Maybe, but not against Gunther.
No, again, like I said earlier, if it's against Randy Orton, CM Punk, if it's against a longtime rival, then yes, I think that's okay. But I wholeheartedly agree that he should have lost on his way out the door, and he should have lost to someone like Gunther, who's right under that main event line. Yes, Gunther is main evented. Yes, he's had title belts, but is he on a Cody Rhodes level? Is he on a Roman Reigns level? Is he on a CM Punk level? No.
Right.
But a good win over Cena could get him there. And I'll say this, and this is where you'll get mad at me, is that I hate to death the whole AEW give them their flowers, which is the dumbest thing that a human can say.
Well,
if I'm ever at a wrestling show and hear someone say that, I'll probably slap them.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you about the phrase, not necessarily the intent behind it. In the case of Sting, they were, you know, again publicizing that event for a while. We knew that was coming. Like, you know, it wasn't called a retirement tour, but you knew it was his last year, and they did what he wanted to do. He wanted a tag match, and he wanted it to be against the Bucks, and he wanted Darby Allin there. And I think in that scene, I think him winning made sense, and I liked how they did it there. So, and people can not feel that way too. My point is, I think the way they did it at least shows a little bit that you don't always have to retire putting the other person over. You can retire on top. It has happened in sports. And
I think with Sting, he was to the point where it didn't matter.
Yeah.
He was a broken down horse for his entire run in AEW.
Well, yeah, he was certainly older, but the way they used him, I loved it because they put him with Darby Allin. They used him very sparingly.
Yes, they did use him in a very smart way because they didn't ask much of him.
Right.
And again, they put him in tag matches. He was basically Robert Gibson, standing on the apron waiting.
Yeah.
And at that point, that was fine. And again, that works because Sting is winning, but Sting is putting over Darby Allin. Darby Allin is my buddy. Darby Allin is
Right.
the new generation. Darby Allin is my Stingness continuing on.
Right. Sting.
So
Love that.
yes, so in a way, he didn't job to somebody, but he did put a guy over on his way out the door.
True. Yeah. No. True. Like, yeah. Absolutely. If you look at it that way. But yeah. So and they had, getting back to the Cena match, they had Gunther ushered out of there very quickly, and the crowd was very loud. At this point, they had everybody come down, which I expected. And as soon as Triple H showed his face, you heard a lot of different chants. And at the post event press conference, apparently, which I didn't watch, but you heard it. The people listed the different chants. People were upset about it, and I do think it's telling that the kind of attitude towards the way Triple H books has shifted in a big way, not just because of this, but I think that it's shifted over a period of time now as well. I think that people are not exactly loving what product they're seeing all the time. But
Well, everything changes. Anybody, if you do anything for a long enough period of time, you're going to drop off the table. I mean,
yeah,
Bill Belichick, greatest head coach in NFL history, eventually dropped off the table, and now he's coaching North Carolina State and married to an 18-year-old or whatever it is. So,
yeah,
so that happens, and sometimes, and again, you go back to the territory days. When that happens, they just cycled in a new booker.
right, true. Yeah.
And now, but they're not necessarily. I see, and that's a problem, and that's AEW's problem too. You're never going to have a new booker. Sometimes fresh ideas is what you need. You need a fresh look at things. And if you go back and you look at territory days, anytime it went down, most of the guys were smart enough to change the booker, and it would come back up because it's different ideas.
Yeah, and I don't know who has like Tony Khan's ear or anything like that. I don't know who he looks to for feedback on certain things. Certainly in WWE for forever and a day, Vince was the head honcho, and everything stopped at him. Of course, he had people below him who would give him ideas.
Right, and he listened to Pat Patterson, Jerry Briscoe. He listened to a lot of those guys who were very inner circle to him.
Yeah.
And yeah, think about it. You say Vince was the end of the road, yes, but like Pat always booked the Royal Rumble. A lot of those guys, it was just you. Even if you listen to Cornette, yeah, Cornette got a lot of freedom when he was there. It was just whether Vince said yes or no at the end of the day.
That's what I meant. Yeah, ultimately Vince was the filter.
Yeah.
Like, for people.
Where I think with Triple H and with Tony Khan, they're there alone. I don't think they're listening to anybody, either one of them. Yeah. I think they're just doing what they feel like doing.
Yeah. I think that, I agree, but we could go down that road.
That's a different conversation, yes.
So, yeah, ultimately, I think I admire that John Cena is getting out while he is still healthy, and he's not doing it until he can't walk anymore. He and Batista both deserve credit for that. They have other things that they can do, and they're going to do those things. And I think he's getting out at the right time. And he's clearly making it a definite thing. Like, I am done now. I do not believe that you will see him brought back for like random matches, maybe for appearances, but not matches. So I didn't like the match. I didn't like how it ended, but hats off to him for a long and obviously very successful career.
Yeah, and at the end too. Yeah, I think the final match could have been better if it was a pass out finish and they doubled the pace. I think that's a good match, but it was what it was, and now he moves on to continuing to his acting career most likely. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, Well, let us know what you thought of Saturday night's main event of John Cena's final match. What you would have done differently. Look at our other videos as well. Subscribe to our content. Hit that like button. We're available where you listen to podcasts as well. For Leonard, my name is Chad, and we will see you next time.